Be me, final semester of grad school, working on my thesis for gender studies. For most of my 20s, I thought I had men figured out. I grew up seeing my mum do everything herself, raise me, pay bills, fix the car, while my dad drifted in and out of the picture depending on when it suited him. My first boyfriend wasn't much better. The kind who'd call himself a nice guy, but somehow always made me feel like I owed him something for it. So yeah, I developed a bit of an edge. Every class I took, every paper I wrote, just reinforced it. Men talk big about respect, but it's mostly ego under a different name. That's what gave me the idea for my thesis. I wanted to dig into this thing I kept hearing lately, men saying it's dangerous to help women now. Like helping someone is suddenly some noble risk, not basic decency. It sounded ridiculous, convenient even, like a get-out-of-responsibility card. My proposal was titled, "The Paradox of Male Fragility: How Toxic Masculinity Prevents Men from Supporting Women." When I handed it in, my advisor grinned like I'd just dropped something groundbreaking. He told me, "This could be something that really challenges the narrative. Don't play it safe." At first I thought I'd just write a paper, cite some studies, run a few surveys, but the more I thought about it, the more boring that sounded. I wanted to see how it actually looked in real life, so I decided to turn it into a kind of experiment. I brought it up to a few people in class over coffee. We met at this small campus cafe that always smells like burnt beans and has faded posters about empowering women in science on the walls. Mia was the first to volunteer. She's loud, sharp, always has a comeback ready. She said, "You're right. Guys act like offering to help is some dangerous mission. Let's call their bluff." Then there was Tasha, a newer classmate, more intense. She jumped in too, saying she wanted to observe male behavior in natural conditions, whatever that meant. We later got Claire involved. Quieter, a little awkward, just wanted something good to put on her resume. By the end of that meeting, we had a real plan. Not just a "wouldn't it be interesting if" idea, but something mapped out on paper. We'd set up a few everyday scenarios, things any woman might run into, and see if men actually stepped in to help. Nothing dramatic, no traps, just natural situations that showed instinct. The first would be the car test. One of us parked on a quiet street near campus, pretending to have a flat tire while the others watched from nearby. Then the grocery test. Drop a heavy tote outside a store, see who helped pick it up. Finally, the public space test, asking for directions or help carrying boxes, noting whether men were polite, dismissive, or awkward. We'd record tone, body language, and hesitation, all the little cues people usually miss, and rate them by response time, comfort distance, and verbal tone. It sounded almost scientific. Sitting there in that cafe, we felt like we were designing something big. I opened my laptop and created a spreadsheet titled Interaction Dataset, Gender and Risk Aversion. We'd log every encounter, time, place, what the man looked like, what he said, what his body language suggested. Tasha joked that we were turning male cowardice into measurable data. Mia laughed and said we'd probably find out men only help when they think it'll get them attention. I remember walking back to my apartment that night. It felt like I was doing something important, like I'd finally found a way to show, with evidence, that men's constant talk about being afraid to help women was just another performance. Another way to center themselves, to make their discomfort the main story again. If I'm honest though, underneath all that confidence, I think I just wanted to be right. I wanted to prove that the way I'd always seen them, the ones who looked the other way when women struggled, who got defensive when called out, was the truth. Maybe part of it was personal. I wanted to feel like the version of me who used to get walked on by men, the one who swallowed every guilt trip and apology, finally had the facts on her side. So yeah, that's how it started. A thesis project, a few classmates, and a little too much certainty. At the time, it didn't feel dangerous. It felt smart, justified, and above all, good. We kicked things off the next weekend. The four of us met early Saturday, bundled in coats, carrying notebooks and take-out coffee cups, full of that weird academic energy that made us feel we were doing something important for society when really we were just people watching. The plan was simple. 3 small setups, 3 public spots, nothing dramatic. Just see how men reacted when a woman clearly needed help. No traps, no yelling, no politics. Just observation. The first test was the flat tire scene. We picked a quiet street near campus, the kind that's busy enough for foot traffic but not crowded. Claire was the one pretending to have car trouble. She popped the hood on her old Corolla, smudged a little oil on her cheek, and started fiddling with a wrench she didn't know how to use. The rest of us stationed nearby. I sat on a bench pretending to scroll my phone. Mia leaned against a lamppost, and Tasha sat in her car across the street with her phone camera angled just right. The first few guys who passed didn't even slow down. One gave a half glance and put his earbuds back in. Another crossed to the other side of the street, pretending to check his watch. Then one man in a flannel jacket finally stopped. He didn't get close though, just hovered a few feet away and said, "You should probably call roadside assistance, miss." These new cars are tricky. Claire smiled and thanked him, but he stayed there awkwardly like he was scared to even bend over the hood. When he finally left, we looked at each other, half smiling. "You see that?" Mia said. "They can't even handle a woman asking for help without acting weird." Tasha scribbled something down in her notebook. "That's not fear. That's ego." He didn't want to risk looking dumb in front of her. I wrote the same thing in mine, trying to sound objective. Subject avoided hands-on assistance, displayed defensive detachment. We waited another 20 minutes. A younger guy on a bike stopped next, offered to help, then started explaining how the jack worked like he was teaching a class. He didn't even check if Claire was following, just talked over her the entire time. She nodded along politely until he left. When he was out of earshot, Tasha muttered, "There it is." Mansplaining, Exhibit A. By the end of that first test, we were already convinced we'd seen the pattern. Men either ignored a woman who looked like she needed help or made it about showing off what they knew. Either way, it told the same story. They didn't actually care. The next test was at a grocery store near the quad. Mia volunteered for that one. She loaded a canvas tote with heavy items, walked right outside the sliding doors, and accidentally dropped it. A few apples rolled across the pavement. A jar cracked open and leaked sauce onto the sidewalk. A couple walked by without a glance. Another guy looked like he wanted to help, but hesitated. He bent down, picked up a few things, then straightened up fast when she thanked him. She joked lightly, "Careful, don't want to strain yourself." And he just gave an awkward smile before walking off. "Did you see that?" Mia said, laughing under her breath when she came back to us. "They'll only help if they can do it fast, and leave. Like they're afraid they'll catch empathy." Tasha nodded. "Exactly. They want credit for being decent without actually being decent." I tried to frame it professionally in my notes. Subject provided partial assistance, but lacked follow-through. Underlying tone, impatience, or irritation. It sounded clinical, but what I really meant was, they helped just enough to look good, not enough to care. By the afternoon, we moved on to the last setup, the public space test. Tasha volunteered. She'd walk up to random men outside the library, ask for directions to a fake building, and see how they responded. The first guy smiled politely, but didn't stop walking. The second one helped her pull up a map on her phone, but stepped back every time she leaned in to look. The third gave a vague answer and waved her off. Tasha came back shaking her head. Every single one acted like I was wasting their time. Mia laughed. That's what happens when men think helping a woman means they're losing control of the situation. Claire, who had been quiet most of the day, finally said, "Or maybe they're just being careful, like they don't want to come off the wrong way." We all looked at her, and I could tell she regretted saying it immediately. Tasha shot her a look. "Please. They're not careful, they're cold. There's a difference." No one argued after that. We ended the day back at the cafe again, notebooks open, half our coffee gone cold. I transferred everything into my spreadsheet, the one labeled Interaction Dataset, Gender and Risk Aversion. Each line looked so official. Timestamps, descriptions, behavior notes. Subject 7, deflected assistance. Subject 10, overconfident tone. Subject 14, minimal engagement. It felt like we were building evidence, brick by brick. Every line confirmed what I'd already believed, that men weren't hesitant because they feared misunderstanding. They were hesitant because they didn't value women enough to bother. By the time we packed up, we were already talking about what to do next. Tasha said we needed a setting that wasn't so uptight, where men let their guard down. Mia suggested a bar. She said that's where they'd show their real attitudes. I agreed right away. It made sense. After all, if you want to see someone's real character, catch them when they're relaxed. We weren't supposed to drink. That had been the plan. Go in, observe, maybe record a few things, then leave. But once we were in the booth, settled in with the buzz of music and warm lighting and laughter from the other tables, it all kind of dissolved. It started with a pitcher of sangria. Claire ordered it, half joking. "If we're going to pretend to be casual bar-goers, might as well commit." Mia raised a brow. "Social immersion," she said, pouring her glass. "Purely academic." By the second round, none of us were really thinking about the project anymore. We weren't observing. We were talking about professors we hated, exes who'd texted again, weekend plans. I was scribbling nonsense in my notes just to feel like I was doing something. We were laughing at something Tasha had said when Mia got up to go to the bathroom. She was walking back, glass in hand, when someone bumped her elbow. Not hard, just enough to throw off her balance. She slipped on some melted ice near the bar entrance and almost went down. It happened fast. She stumbled sideways into a man standing nearby. He reached out without even thinking, one hand catching her by the arm, the other bracing her lower back for a second to steady her. It was just a reflex. He wasn't even looking at her face, just reacting like anyone would if a stranger nearly fell. Mia blinked, half laughed, brushing herself off. Shit, that would have been embarrassing. The guy smiled a little and nodded. "You're good." One of the bartenders, drying glasses, called out, "Nice catch, man." A couple of people at the bar chuckled, someone clapped. He went back to his drink like nothing happened. But I saw the way Mia's expression changed after a few seconds. She sat back down slowly, quiet now. Tasha leaned in. "You okay?" "I didn't like the way he touched me," she said. He had his hand low. Like he didn't even think about it. Then out of nowhere she started crying. I tried to reason it out. "I mean, you did almost fall." "He didn't have to touch there," she snapped. She wasn't angry exactly. Just off. You could feel it. Something in her rewrote the moment a few beats after it happened. Tasha sat up straighter. "Let's talk to the manager." I should have said no. I should have left it. But my head was swimming. From the wine, from the weird adrenaline of it all. From the pressure of this thesis I'd been building in my head for months. We went to the bar and asked to speak to someone in charge. The bartender said the manager had already gone home. "I just want to see the footage," Mia said, "from the camera behind the bar." I slipped and someone grabbed me. "I want to know where his hands were." The bartender hesitated but nodded. "We have the footage. I'll make sure someone reviews it. You okay?" She said yes, but she didn't look it. The next day, I kept replaying it in my head. The stumble, the hand, the brief contact. He hadn't gawked or grabbed. He'd just reacted. Still, the moment already felt tainted. Tasha said we should follow up. Guys like that don't learn unless there are consequences. Claire said nothing. That week, I went back and asked the bar for a copy of the security footage, saying it was for a class project. The assistant manager handed me a flash drive, clearly just wanting it off his plate. That night, I watched it alone. There it was, Mia's heel slipping, the ice cube, her hand flying up, the man stepping forward, catching her with one hand on her back and letting go as soon as she was steady. He didn't linger or even look at her again. I paused it, frame by frame. His hand landed just above her hip, quick and harmless. I stared at it, waiting for it to feel wrong again. But it didn't. Mia came over later, watched part of it with me. "That's him," she said flatly. "That's exactly how it felt." "He caught you, that's all," I said. "You didn't feel it," she snapped. "You didn't see his hand where it was? If we don't say something, he'll just do it again." I pointed at the screen. "He didn't do anything." "Not that you can see," she said, "but I felt it." And women's instincts aren't random. If it felt wrong, it was that line stuck with me. If it felt wrong, it was. The frame was still paused, his hand on her back, the faint light catching the logo on his belt badge, a small downtown tech firm, and his name starting with an E looked about 4 letters long. You could just make it out if you zoomed. Mia crossed her arms. "You should report it. You're better with words. Just tell them what happened. What would I even say? That he touched me without permission. That it made me uncomfortable. That's enough. I told myself it was just part of the project. Not personal, just data." The next morning, I called HR. My voice shook more than I expected. I told them I was a grad student researching campus safety, and that an incident at a local bar involved one of their employees, possibly named Evan. The lady on the line said, "We take all reports seriously. Thank you for bringing this to our attention." When she confirmed he worked there, I thanked her and hung up. I didn't make a formal complaint, but I knew how companies react when something like that even might have happened. Mia texted me that night, "Good. Maybe next time he'll think twice before touching someone." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that feelings counted as proof. That if it felt wrong, it must have been. A few days later, Mia forwarded me an email. "The employee has been placed on administrative leave pending review." She added a smiley face. "Accountability," she wrote. I stared at the line for a long time. Administrative leave? It sounded tidy, procedural, but all I could picture was that man getting a call from HR trying to explain something that had lasted maybe half a second. I didn't reply. The following Friday we met at the same cafe we always did, trying to plan what came next for the thesis. It was raining, the kind that soaks you before you even get your umbrella open. While we waited for our drinks, a man in a black apron stepped in from outside, shaking off water from his jacket. I recognized him before he spoke. The bartender from the night at Hartwell's. He spotted us too, paused for a second, like he was debating, saying anything, then walked over. "Hey, you were the grad students who came by asking about the camera footage, right?" Mia tensed. "Yeah, why?" He wiped rain from his sleeve. "Just figured I'd introduce myself." "Tom," he nodded toward us. I was the one who pulled that footage for your little project. I actually work at this cafe part-time. Recognized you guys here a few times before." Something in his tone made Mia bristle. It wasn't a project, it was research. Tom gave a half shrug. "Call it whatever you want. I just thought you should know." Evan came back to the bar this week. We all went still. He sat in the same seat. Ordered water, not even a drink. Said he'd been suspended. HR review, all that. Guess they're deciding if he's safe to keep around. He looked wrecked. Said he might lose his job. Mia crossed her arms. "That's not on us." He touched me. "Actions have consequences." Tom nodded slowly. "They do." "That's what I'm here to tell you." Her jaw tightened. "Excuse me?" "You said you were studying why men don't help women anymore." His voice stayed calm, low. "You ever think maybe this is why?" A guy reacts for half a second to keep someone from hitting the floor, and a week later, he's out of work. "Who'd want to take that risk again?" Tasha cut in. "You don't get it. Men have the power. They've always had the power." Tom looked tired, not angry. If power means being afraid to touch someone who's falling, then sure. Tons of power. Mia leaned forward. "You're minimizing what happened." I felt violated. He met her eyes. "I'm not minimizing it. I'm saying feeling something and proving something aren't the same." I watched that tape more times than I wanted to. He didn't do a damn thing wrong. The cafe went quiet except for the hiss of the espresso machine. Mia's voice rose. "So what? We should just ignore it? Let men do whatever they want?" Tom shook his head. "No. But you don't build justice by burning down someone who didn't light the fire. You want to change things? Start by telling the truth." He looked at me then. "You were the one who called HR, right?" I swallowed hard. "Yeah." "You got your data," he said. "You wanted to see what fear looks like in real life?" "It looks like a guy sitting alone in my bar saying he'll never help another woman again because next time it could cost him everything." No one spoke. Even Tasha didn't have a comeback. Tom pushed his hands into his pockets, the rain still glistening on his sleeves. "For what it's worth, I don't think you meant to ruin him." "But intention doesn't change the ending." He started toward the door, then paused. "Every time something like this happens, a decent guy decides it's safer to look away." "That's the world you're building." He left before any of us could answer. We sat there in silence until the rain eased off. Mia kept staring at her coffee. "He doesn't get it," she said finally. "This is bigger than one guy." I didn't answer. I just kept hearing Tom's voice. Who'd want to take that risk again? When I got home, I opened my thesis document. The title glared back at me. The Paradox of Male Fragility. How toxic masculinity prevents men from supporting women. Now I'm stuck and not sure what to do. Was this Mia's fault, or did that guy Evan deserve what he got for touching her?